When it comes to planning for your future, you want someone you can trust. At Prairie State Investments, Mark Pfeiffer is here to help you build a plan that fits your life, your family, and your goals. Whether it's retirement, college savings, or investing wisely for tomorrow, Mark has the knowledge and local commitment to guide you every step of the way. Don't leave your future up to chance. Call Mark Pfeiffer at Prairie State Investments today at 815-668-8131 and start investing with confidence.
Ready to outfit your team or gear up for the season? Get trusted service, custom designs, and hometown commitment from Breedlove Sporting Goods, serving Kewanee and the surrounding communities since 1949. From quality athletic equipment, team uniforms, screen printing, and embroidery to trophies and awards, Breedlove's has what you need to compete with confidence. Whether you're a coach, an athlete, or a supporter of local sports, they've got you covered. Call them today at 309-852-4434 to outfit your squad, customize your gear, or plan your next fundraiser. That's 309-852-2434. Breedlove Sporting Goods. Support local champions and get ready to play hard and finish strong. Welcome to NUIC All Access, joined by Jay Doyle and Joe Murdy, and I'm your host, Kyle Kampmeyer. Today, we feature the regional championship teams from Dakota and Pecatonica. Eastland head coach Tyler Zumdahl could not join us today. Once again, we want to wish him and the Cougars the best of luck at sectionals. Jay, introduce our guest to us today.
Bartelt, along with senior leaders Austin Stuckey and Jason Moore. And Pecatonica head coach Bobby Wiesler with senior leaders Blake Fox and Dylan Evans. Here's what Dakota's accomplished so far. They won their second straight regional championship, currently have a 31-2 record on the season, and we claimed their first back-to-back regional title since 1985 and 1986. The Pecatonica program won their fifth consecutive regional championship, 21-13 so far in the season, and their fifth consecutive 21.
So congratulations, guys, on your regional championships, and thank you again for joining us. We find ourselves in a familiar place from a season ago.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Coach Bartelt, we're going to start with you. Last year, that sectional semifinal loss to Eastland ended your season. It was a 55-39 game. Where specifically did you feel that gap was last season?
I didn't think we handled their pressure defensively nearly well enough. I thought we turned the ball over too many times and didn't get enough good looks on the offensive end. And then we also had a couple breakdowns defensively where we gave up some shots to their three-point shooters who were hitting some shots that night.
One you think from last year to which we improved most to close the gap of kind of what your weaknesses were last year to what your strengths are this year?
I think last year, we had a big team last year, but I don't think we were really quick. So we got beat a couple times on the defensive end. This year, I think defensively, we're more solid. We move better. We still got some good size, but defensively, we moved much better than we did last year. And with all that experience we got coming back, I think we execute on the offensive end better than we did last year as well.
And when we talk about experience, Coach Heisler, last year, you guys beat one country, but a loss 36-31 to Eastland. Graduated a lot of that team. When you think that you guys from last year to this year was your biggest concern and the biggest surprise?
Obviously, we lost a lot of senior leadership last year. Lost a point guard who started 3 straight seasons for me in Cooper Hoffman. So I think coming into the season, the biggest concern was just going to be our consistency. And I think you saw that play out throughout the course of the season. But the wonderful thing about basketball, getting 30-plus games in, gave us an opportunity to be tested. And from the end of the season, we're playing our best basketball.
Well, one of the biggest thing I know we talked about was, and when it's pointed out in the articles that were read after your regional win, was the starting, I think it's 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and a junior. That on the varsity setting takes time to mesh. And I think you guys far exceed a lot of people in the how you were playing at the end of the year.
No, I would agree. You know, for the most part, it was a reflection of our summer. As you guys all know, we host a summer league, and we had success in the summer league, along with Dakota, Winnebago, Lutheran, and Eastland. So for us, it was really no surprise the late season success that we were having. Starting off the season, we were dealing with a few injuries to a few key guys, and just getting those rotations down, and then obviously the level of comfort for freshmen and sophomores in new roles underneath big lights.
Austin, let's go over to you. Last year, you lost to Eastland in that sectional game. Walking off the floor last March, is there something that kind of stayed with you the longest?
Just the experience, playing that game, it's always fun, no matter win or loss. But losing obviously isn't fun. Just getting off season, put in the work, do do the best I can to come back next season and try my best and play Eastland again. So we'll see how it goes.
So when did that off-season work and preparation start there, Austin?
So, couple weeks after,
Yeah.
as soon as I could. Um, Takes a lot of work, but I think we did a fairly decent job of that this season.
So, Kason, for you, what changed in your off-season workouts after that loss? Where did the motivation come in? What drove you guys?
I guess it really just kicked in that this year's our senior year. One more chance at this. Really, just say our main guys really just put in the work in the off season this summer, and just we wanted to be good this year. Yeah.
Well, and that's one of those things I know you guys on Pecatonic, and you see it with the teams of not only putting in the work with your teams in example, but you guys play also AAU basketball. I know. So not only do you guys put the time in during the off season with your schools, and many of the top teams around here, you guys put time in during the off season, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
AAU 5, 6 tournaments a season. I know me, Kason, a couple other guys showed up to Pack for open gyms a couple times, church open gyms, as much basketball as we can play. I mean, that's about as best you can do.
And both to you, after that loss to Eastern last March, what lessons did you take from last year to this year to have a successful season and be in a position where you guys are at?
Even though I wasn't
One
stepping
more,
on the floor much, I could kind of see how senior leadership was taken and how I was supposed to transition into this year. Seeing all the work that those seniors put in through their time and all the time I was starting up really showed that I needed to push myself and the rest of my team, especially the younger kids that were even starting above me, that they needed to push themselves and mentally check in for any situation.
and one was a lot, depending upon everyone's role from last year to this year, but you've talked about it on the girls' side, and this was for both, you know, you guys and Dakota, but for me specifically, what was the pressure like to make sure, this is your fifth consecutive regional title? What was it like to be the, one to continue to be the team that brings home a regional title?
We knew that we had lots of talent and that we just had to put our pieces together to really make the team that we are. We knew we could definitely win regionals and see what we can do continuing. We really just needed to come together and continue as a team to grow and show what we can do and be the best that we can be.
So, Dylan, kind of the same question to you. How do you feel Pecatonica basketball has grown this year to prepare you guys for another sectional run?
I feel that we've all this is the best part, I believe, of our team. We've all accepted our roles. Me and Blake being seniors, having freshmen and sophomores start over us, but we've gladly accepted our roles and found ways to impact the game, whether even if it's not scoring, rebounding, Blake's off and defender. I think we've really preached defense a lot too. So I think that's been a great thing for us.
We have a lot of athleticism, so not necessarily the most size, but you know, we have good talent, and yeah.
And that's one of the things, Coach Heisler, you can probably compound on that. The one thing I've noticed in watching, I watch both the league, mutual game and the Balloon game, but you guys seem to be flying around just fast. You guys look really fast right now on defense. And kind of play I don't know, he's looking for just doing the passing lanes. When did that change? Because it's just like you guys seem to play good basketball right now.
I would agree. And that's what we preach all year long. Obviously, against Lena, you saw a little bit different wrinkle with our program when we played 2-3 defense, which we don't typically do. We're typically more of a man-to-man pressure, the basketball type defense. But kids are playing well right now. I think the answers that Blake and Dylan have given are pretty true to who we are, and with great leadership from these guys, everybody else buys into their role. When you have a couple of seniors who are willing to do whatever it takes for the team, I think that kind of uplifts everybody, and everybody feels comfortable in their own skin and comfortable in their role.
So, Bart, back to you. You're 31-2 this year. You've won back-to-back regional titles for the first time since you were a player on those teams in the mid 80s. What do you feel this group committed to that last year's kind of came up short on?
I think these guys just played a lot more over the summer than previous teams. You get some groups there that some of them like basketball, some just go out for basketball. These guys truly like basketball, and I think that's paid off. Like he was saying, they went and they played a lot on their own. I've even got phone calls from these guys. Hey, can we open the gym up and come in and play? And I said, yeah, we'll open it up. So these guys just like to play, and I think that made a huge difference.
Chelsea, then we got 5 straight regionals. I mean, moving into the sectionals now. Early on, shaky start, like we talked about with the younger group. How do you keep the confidence, and how do you keep the confidence moving into sectionals?
I think at the end of the day, we just play basketball. Similar to Dakota, we have a lot of guys who play outside of our school season. I've shared in the past that it's great to have seniors on your team, but basketball really truly comes down to the amount of time that you put into it, not necessarily the age that you are. So we feel that we play basketball at a really high level collectively, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and we give ourselves a shot against anybody that we play. We know come this time of the year, every game is going to be a good game because every team left playing is still going to be a very good team. So if we can do the things that we hold true to and the things that we set as standards for our team and our program, we just feel that if we give ourselves a shot, that we can be right there.
And Austin, back to you. You had 1,000 career points this year. Congratulations on that. How has your leadership evolved from end of last year to this season?
This season, it's just senior leadership. Last year, junior, I feel like I was still a leader last year, but I think I've stepped up a little bit more this year, just in practice, going through drills, outside of practice even, just pushing them to be our best, and practice is where it turns into game-like situations, so you gotta be prepared for anything.
So, Kaysen, going to you, we've seen Dakota change from where you guys started in November. You have a different starting 5 now. You got the nucleus is still there, right? And as far as the substitutions, a lot of that's the same, but you have a different starting 5 now compared to the start of the year. Where have you seen the most growth for Dakota from the beginning of the year to where you're at now?
I'd definitely say with our starting lineup now, we play a little better and have a little better chemistry than we did at the start of the year. Even though we were playing great at the start of the year, though, but really we all just play good together. Especially when Keegan and Braden come off the bench, we still have great chemistry.
Well, when you're 31-2, you can't really say you were playing bad at the start of the year.
Yeah.
So, boy, question to you here. Credit to Coach Heisler. He pushes you guys in the offseason. And then you guys have a tough season year, year in and year out. You played Dakota multiple times, Eastland. How does that get you ready for your sectional game?
I would say that we played so much in the off season that I couldn't tell you how many games we played. I mean, through all the tournaments and even traveling to Monmouth and playing teams schools I've never even heard of on just random courts. It was just a learning experience. Even I mean, everybody's different in the summer than they are during the season, but it shows everybody grows and everybody gets better, including their teams, and you never know what can happen, especially with records don't really mean much in the off season or in the postseason. I mean, it's really just who wants it more.
So, Blake, do you remember any of those schools that you played down in
And
Monmouth?
Dylan,
I do not. I do not remember any of the schools I played down in Monmouth, to be honest with you. But
We got spanked by Cary Grove.
it was
Hey, there you go, Cary Grove. There's
Yeah.
one.
One thing I am asking you to do more, Coach, is sort of an outside game. We've traveled all over and done everything. I'm waiting for that outside game, like to do outside hockey and stuff like that. You guys will want to play the game outdoors in the summertime. Or maybe you have it and you just missed it.
I feel like we drew the short straw and we have to keep deciphering Jay here. I heard something about hockey and I heard something about outside, but obviously we put together a rigorous off season, but truth be told, the games are great. But I'm more impressed with the amount of work we do in the season, especially with our weightlifting program. These guys are in here Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 a.m. We lift jointly with our football program. And that's even during the season. Just now have we really started to scale things back. So, we don't ever use it as an excuse per se, but we always know in the back of our mind when there's a Wednesday night game and we don't particularly shoot it well, and these guys were maxing out on squats at 6:30 in the morning, that there's probably a reason behind that. So now, we're fresh. Some of that other stuff is put off to the side, and hopefully we're playing our best basketball.
So, Dylan, you look at the teams in this sectional. You guys haven't seen Newman yet. You've lost to Dakota twice, lost to Eastland twice. What kind of gives you the belief or confidence that Pecatonica can kind of flip the script here this week in the sectional?
I mean, I think what gives us confidence is knowing that we are probably playing our best basketball. Also, when we played Lena, they had beat us twice before, and I think that win excelled us more than the Galena win did itself, because we knew we had Galena. Earlier in the season we had them beat. Fell short in the end, but I feel like the Lena game really had us prepared. Obviously, knowing what Dakota's like, how good they are, and Eastland. I know we don't like losing to them. Sure, nobody does, but yeah.
I think every time I flip back and forth between the little game and the other regional games, Zion was dunking. And that was pretty cool to watch. I don't know. All of a sudden, he just seems to be going to the rim hard and dunking one time, because he did it multiple times against Galena the other night also.
No, I think it took a toll on him early. He was a little tired. But there's also a lot of illness going around, which I know other programs are experiencing as well. So you got some sick kids playing across the state line right now too. So, hopefully a couple more days rest and everybody's healthy and ready to go, and everybody gets to see some good games.
Zion finally learned he can dunk anything he wants to.
Dunk. I seen a picture of that on the guys with picture of Kingston can't dunk.
Oh yeah. Well, I was giving Kaysen some crap on that. He takes a picture with a kid and it says Kaysen can't dunk. I've seen Kaysen dunk.
Kaysen can dunk.
You just don't throw it down. Hey, speaking of Zion dunking, Blake, wasn't it you that threw one off the backboard
Yeah, well,
like last week?
yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought. That was pretty awesome, by the way. Do you guys have that talk going on? Because I guarantee if you missed that, Bobby would have been yelling at
Oh,
you.
Actually, no, we didn't practice that or anything. I remember Cooper got Cooper got the steal and he was on the ground. He passed it up to me, and I'm dribbling down the court. And all of a sudden, I hear Zion yell behind me, "Blake, Blake, Blake, throw it off the glass!" And I was like, "All right, here we go." I didn't want to throw it too hard, and luckily Zion got it and put it through the rim.
It worked out perfect because I could just see Bobby. You missed that one. He's hammering
Oh, yeah.
down. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, we missed enough layups as it is.
Bart, here's one for you, buddy. Beating
right.
Pecatonica twice this year, including a 43-40 win. What does that say about your guys' identity?
I think it just kind of shows that all the work they put in the summer has paid off. Obviously, Peck's been the standard bearer in this conference for the last 4 or 5 years. So they've had, I don't know about it. How many years in a row have you won conference?
Couldn't tell you, Bart.
When it's that many, you lose track, I guess. But yeah,
That's a good problem to have.
I just remember the last time we lost in regionals to Evan, Flynn, and Dakota. So that's what I go back to, not necessarily the win.
And now you got Evan on the bench, so
yes.
he's back.
Yes. But all the work they put in off season, I think it's paid off tremendously. We got a lot of experience and all that. We had great games with Pack. Both of them have been close games. We had great games with Lena as well. So this conference, I think, builds it up for you're ready for the postseason.
Coach Heisler, under rule, told Dakota and Eastland, 2 of the 10 teams that are in your sectional. What do you think the wins and losses in the sectional will come down to, whether it be turnovers, execution, matchups? What do you think the key matchups will be in the sectionals here?
I don't know if matchups are as key as necessarily just the ability to make shots on a given night. I think right now everybody in our sectional, I have a great appreciation for the other 3 coaches. I think all 4 teams are going to be coached well. I think all 4 teams have really good personnel. Everybody has 5 guys on the floor who are going to be a threat consistently. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to some very basic things like making shots, taking care of the basketball, and rebounding the basketball, as well as defending. But I don't think those matchups necessarily mean anything as far as who plays who or who's guarding who or things of that nature.
Well, by this time in the year, everybody knows everybody and knows what everybody's about. And it's just going to be who shows up that night and who has that game. And that's how it turns out to a lot of it. And hopefully, with 3 of the 4 teams and anyone see to them, hopefully we can keep it rolling.
No, I agree. Bart was one of the first people that I texted after they won their game. Very happy to see the NUIC continue to be represented and winning at a high level.
Damn right.
So, Austin, to you, you guys played Pearl City in that regional game, and you may see Pecatonica here in the sectional. Teams you've already beaten, 1 or 2 or 3 times in a season. How do you avoid overconfidence at this point of the season when you've already beaten a team more than once?
Yeah, so that Pearl City game, I was a little worried going in, playing them 4 times in a season. It's tough, but at Pearl City, that's also tough. I mean, they had fans, they were loud. Their coach gets into the game at all times, so it's going to be tough, but you just got to come to play.
At one point, he was out past some more players during the game.
Yeah, he's basically in the game.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, Jay. I mean, at one point I saw Isaiah. He was like almost to the 3-point line, and the referee standing right in front of him. Like, what are we doing here, man? You're like in the play of game here. But yeah, he's very exciting. It was a lot of fun to watch in that game. Definitely had a lot of excitement. At one point, he was leading the clap cheers for Pearl City. Even he was clapping so loud you could hear it coming through the TV.
Yeah, he gets into it for sure.
Kaysen, you were at this point last year in a sectional semifinal game. In your opinion, what possession matters most, the first 4 minutes or the last 4 minutes?
Hmm. It's a tough one. I'll definitely say the first 4 minutes. Obviously, they can set the tone of the game. Obviously, but I mean, in the last 4 minutes, especially if it's a close game, I mean, that's the game right there. Really. Don't want to drop your head or nothing if you're losing. Can't have key mistakes, nothing like that.
No, that's where
First
I totally
madness.
agree with you. You want to get out and set that tone.
All right, Blake, question for you. Playing in your sectional game, you're one of the guards on the team. What are you going to take pride in to make sure that how you guys execute the game plan put together?
I would say for game plan wise, don't take any possession for granted. I mean, we got to execute every play, and every play matters. If it even comes down to missing free throws early in the game, that can decide the factors late in the game. We do our best to get everybody rebounding. That's the main thing that we need to do. Rebounding and taking care of the basketball really just pushes our offense forward and starts with the defense.
Dylan, now to you. Coach kind of touched on it, so did Blake, but you get to this point of the season. Is it more about matchup advantages or more just about, making shots and playing defense?
I think it's more about making shots and playing defense for sure. I know we've had some issues with matchups in the past with, not having as big of a team this year, but we know we have the hardest working at all times on the floor. I mean, as you guys probably saw, Blake was guard Dookie out there. Um, it's tough, obviously. Duke's a great player, known for a long time. But I think it's definitely down to the matchups and making more shots than it is, or not the matchups, making more shots, playing good defense.
Bart, you've beaten 3 regional championship teams so far in the season. How much confidence does that give you in the locker room heading into sectional week here?
Yeah, I think. Well, I think just throughout the year, I think they've built some confidence. We started out in that first tournament. Yeah, we played. We played in East Dubuque, who's played really well at the end of the year. We beat a Galena team in that first in the championship game. So I think that first tournament gave the guys a little belief that yeah, we can be really good this year, and it played out throughout the year. I think our next game was Byron in that Dina shootout, and I think that probably really gave the guys some confidence when we were able to beat them. And it's just stayed throughout the year. I mean, we've been competitive in every game we played.
And then you Coach Heisler, you guys, what we talked earlier, lost win earlier in the season, were more successful against them in the regionals. Showing that number of the season wins and losses really don't matter, but you can use that as an advantage. How do you use that going into the sectional games?
I mean, I think you take every game as an opportunity to learn and grow. And as long as you have the buy-in from your players, you want to continue to get better. Um, having been in a situation, especially with our team last year, that a lot of games weren't close. I don't know how much at times it stretched us or necessarily helped us. I think in having those games where you have to, grit and grind it out a little bit, I think it helps your team develop a little bit of a toughness. Not that last year's group didn't have that. I'm just saying the more that you have those types of games, the more I think you can grow from them. And I think that's what this year's group has been able to lean on a little bit and experience.
No, 100% get that because until you're in that position, you don't know how to play in that position. And one of the things what teams have done this year is when that position and maybe lost a couple games, and then they know how to play in those games later on. And they know either what coaches want out of them or what they need out of their teammates and players. And that is something that you can't, it just happens or it don't happen, right? And this is a different team, but that's one of the things that noticing with how you guys play early, how you're playing now, you can definitely see that.
No, absolutely. And it's also, getting 15, 16, 17-year-old young men to understand perspective and that, when we're playing against Dakota and it's, I don't know, January 2nd, it's not a big game. It's another game in a long list of games that is this season, and that we just want to continue to keep growing. And, obviously you want to win those games. I don't want to come across as not caring about winning those games, but improving from those games and learning from those games is truly what's most important. And I think this group specifically has done a great job of locking in and understanding that. And then obviously these two guys sitting here with me reinforcing that belief and helping with those teachings. One of the cool things for me the other night was going back watching film and seeing Dylan Evans stand up and he's coaching one of our freshmen out on the floor about where he needs to be on a certain possession. And that's what true leadership is all about. Egos aside, roles aside, and the only thing that matters is the team. And very proud of this group and where they've come with it.
So, Austin, back to you. Dakota played a very tough regular season schedule. I mean, your guys' conference alone was a grind. You had non-conference games against Byron, Winnebago, and such. Was there a point in the season that you maybe feel is prepared Dakota for this week, this sectional run?
Starting the season, it was hard. I mean, we played three good teams, and then Byron, and then I think like middle of the season, that's when the conference games kicked in, and that was tough. Every conference game you go to play, it's going to be a good game. So that was fun, and we know anything could happen in any game.
So, Kason, for you, what do you feel travels best for Dakota in March? Is it your defense, your discipline, or your leadership? Like you've stated already, you guys got a lot of senior leaders on the floor, which is huge. I think this season in general that you guys are currently in and having is something that we could see building up over the last 2 years as well. What do you think is your biggest thing here on those three characters: defense, discipline, leadership?
Um, I'll definitely say we have great leadership between me, Austin, and Liam, but also our defense though really carries our team though. It really just sets the tone for our offense side. Obviously, if we're playing better defense, the crowd's getting into it. We're just playing better on offense.
Yeah, you guys are definitely getting a lot of crowd into it, that's for sure.
Our crowd travel's pretty good.
Question for you, Blake. What do you guys now the confidence as teammates? And how do you guys fight the tough wins and the critical moments?
I would say we just come together collectively. If somebody messes up, we know, hey, let's just get it short-term memory. Next play, we got this. Just lock in and play as hard as we can, and know that we have the toughness and the effort to definitely execute in any situation. Even if we may have not have executed in the regular season, but we've definitely executed so far in the postseason, and really coming together. Even especially with small mistakes, we know what we need to work on and what we have worked on and what we need to do to win these big games.
And Dylan, kind of the same question. What's your mindset going into this week for Peck to survive, and what do you think the team's mindset needs to be overall going into this sectional game here?
I think our team's mindset needs to stay where it's at. I mean, I feel like we're pretty confident right now. Obviously, we're all assigned to watch the film on Newman, see what they're like. But having a extended practice tomorrow, get ready for those guys. But I feel like we just got to keep our confidence, keep everyone accept their roles, keep going with their roles, and play their best. Control the things we can control: our effort and our attitude.
I like that. Control the things you can control. That's a great one there.
Joey's going to put that on a board. He's going to put that on.
Yeah, I think I have a shirt that. I think I have a shirt that says something like that.
Control the controllables.
Gonna make a good coach someday.
There you go.
Bart, I already know the answer to this question in my own personal opinion, but I want your opinion. If last year's Dakota team were to face this year's Dakota team, what would be different?
Well, both. I don't know how to answer that politically correctly, but both teams I thought worked hard. This team probably worked harder in the offseason than last year's team. I think this year's seniors love basketball a little bit more than the last group. Last group played, and they played hard, but these guys put in probably more time in the offseason, which I think paid off for them, which is probably the biggest difference.
Long-term Heisler for with the regional titles you guys have gotten, what makes this team different from the other teams we've coached?
I think it goes back just to expectation. It's pointing out to our guys that, we haven't been invited to NUIC All Access once this season until we won the regional, things like that, just expectations. But we're okay with flying under the radar as well. That's kind of how I started my tenure here at Pecatonica. But I think each group's a little bit different, and I think Bart's being modest in his answer. I think most everybody knows that Austin Stuckey was dealing with some minor health things with his back and so forth last year. They weren't even at 100% last year, and they were playing great basketball. So with us, it's just expectation. Our belief and our expectations outside of these four walls have not changed. But obviously, some of that crowd traveling, some of the reporting from various news outlets and so forth, those have changed a little bit. But our belief has not. I would say Nesto Hoops had us preseason right where we kind of thought we would be, but the bumps in the road took us in different avenues, and we had to correct some things in order to get back to where we wanted to be.
That's because, yeah. Go ahead, Jay.
38 minutes out. Only took 38 minutes to look for that shot to you about the invitation.
So I was waiting for that one, to be honest, because it was about a month ago. I talked to Bobby in the locker room at Pecatonica, and Blake was in there too. And Bobby brought it up. He goes, the guys are getting a little frustrated. You're not bringing Peck or talking about Peck on the podcast. And I looked at Bobby, and I told him, I said, Bobby, I'm talking about Peck. We haven't forgot about you.
We got to use any motivators we can to keep 15, 16, 17-year-old men engaged and going after things. So.
Austin, back to you, and maybe this is something you really haven't thought about much, but is this year's Dakota team maybe a little bit mentally tougher than last year's?
I'd say so. That's a key part to the game. I think we showed it well this season, just being tough, showing adversity. In past years, it's been difficult just to focus and play our game, but I think this year, pre-game, stuff like that, I feel like we're more ready to play than normal.
And I'll just add to that. I said we've struggled at the beginning of games. There's been multiple games this year where we've been down double digits in that first half, where these guys have, had to battle through to some things. And I think that's added to their mental toughness a little bit and their belief that they can come back.
I wish that wasn't the case, but
Me too.
Hey, it happens. I mean, you guys have kind of shown that resiliency, to put it lightly, where you guys have been down in games, sometimes by big portions, and you've battled back. I mean, even your guys' lost to Byron, you guys were up in that game, but then they kind of took the lead, and then you guys had to force your way back into that game. And I don't know. I think, like you said, the fight's been there all year long. It just depends on how you start the game, but it's got to be at least somewhat comforting knowing that no matter where the game goes, you have the ability to keep fighting and attacking and getting yourself back into that ball game.
Yep. We've had experience, in all different situations here this year. We've been up quite a bit and trying to hang on, and we've been down by, double digits, and we have to fight back. So, yeah, these guys have experienced a lot this year.
Yeah, it's one of the questions I got. And Bobby, if you want to answer it, you can. But, one of the questions I received was, is Newman the heavy favorite in this sectional? In my opinion, myself and Jay and Joe, we've talked about it ad nauseum about the seedings. And I put out a post on social media here last week about, while the regionals has a lot of traveling going on in it at the same moment, the bracket layout with the seedings has been perfect. And I feel that we have the four best teams out of what we could have had here. I mean, there's always a case argument for like a Galena or somebody else that could be in the same situation, right? There's been some close games where some teams have gone home, but ideally, that's why you're playing in the playoffs. You're trying to make the four best teams get to sectionals. And while I feel like we got there last year, this year with the way the seeding is breaked out has definitely given that to us as fans.
I would agree. I'd still like, and this is just a personal thing, I'd still like to see seating go back in person. There was, and I'll just share with you guys, one of the programs ranked one of our conference teams third, and I think they finished fifth or sixth in our conference. So I don't understand the rationale behind that. I'd like to see a little bit more integrity behind that, and guys have to do that face to face. But I think you're right. And then as far as teams being heavy favorites, in these games, not only do you have to be a good team, you also have to get a little lucky. Last year I felt we were on the side of not being as lucky. Obviously, a Cooper Hoffman injury, I feel, derailed things for us. Now, obviously, pundits would have other things to argue about and all that stuff, but you have to be playing well. You have to be one of the better teams in the state, which I think everybody in this sectional is. And you have to have, things fall into place for you to have success and to come out on top. And sometimes it's about a little bit of luck as well.
Okay, since you brought it up, I wasn't going to bring it up. As far as the pundits go, I mean, a lot of people could argue about the 6-minute hold the ball call that Eastland pulled on you guys last year. And of course, there's the conversation of, was your coaching technique in that situation the right way to go? And I think you can look at it two ways. Really, Eastland came down, they started driving the lane and just moving the ball right back out to the outside of the perimeter for like 2 minutes, right? And they continue to do that to the point where I think you recognize something where that's all that they were going to do to begin with and exhaust your guys' energy. And likewise, when Krogman went to the top of the key and just held on to the ball, you backed everybody off at the same time and kind of played the rabbit game with each other, who's gonna outthink who. In my personal opinion, as a pundit, I felt like some of the crowd energy kind of negated that over what your guys' personal tendencies were. But I would agree with you, when Cooper went down, that definitely changed what you guys had as far as being in that game. You guys were definitely building the momentum in that second half, in that third quarter when he went down. And then when he did go down and then he tried to make the comeback and couldn't, you could just feel the crowd energy dissipate when they noticed he wasn't there. I mean, granted, some of your role players weren't making shots that they were typically making throughout the course of the season either, which did not help. And then on top of that, Eastland was able to take advantage of those things in the lowest scoring game that you guys had all season long.
No, I mean, absolutely. Injuries are a part of the game. I alluded to earlier, and I don't want to talk for Austin, but I personally know he was dealing with some injuries late last season as well, which was unfortunate for Dakota. And if he's fully healthy, the trajectory of who comes out of that sectional might look completely different as well. So again, at this time of the year, you have to be good, but you have to be lucky as well. And thankfully, right now we have everybody with us, healthy, and we're going to focus on doing what we do and putting ourselves in the best position to win the next game.
Coach Heisler.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, You guys getting ready to play Sterling Newman here. Obviously, I'm sure you've seen them some on film, and you know they play the 1-3-1 defense pretty relentlessly for 32 minutes. You guys have seen some 1-3-1 in your conference, specifically like Lena Winslow. Now, I know every team plays the 1-3-1 a little bit different, has their own quirks, but do you feel like that maybe helps you a little bit, knowing you've seen some very quality teams that have played 1-3-1 against you this year?
I've known Ray Sharp for a long time. We've been friends for, I don't know, almost 20 years. When he first started coaching down there, I was the head coach at Guilford, and we would travel down there and we would play in the summer and have nothing but respect for him and his program and what they've been able to do. You know, their 1-3-1 is a little bit different than Alena Winslow 1-3-1, where they rely a little bit more on their quickness as opposed to their size. But hopefully, having played Lena Winslow here in the last couple of weeks and having had game opportunities to face a 1-3-1 will put us in a position to have some confidence and some familiarity facing that 1-3-1. And I'm not sure what else I might have missed in your question there, Joe. So if there's
You answered it.
Well, the only thing I will go on before we go on to the next one, you were talking about last year and this year and finding your love. Once you talk about, and watching how games can change every game down the line when it's a tight game, it comes down to that the one kid that makes the big shot, right? Or look at what can change an outcome, and it's normally a big turnover or a shot. And I was watching the end of the Pac-12 game, and it's like you guys made the big shots down the stretch and controlled the ball, didn't turn the ball over, and Galena had the ball very late, and they had the backdoor cut that they threw it out of bounds to the back. And one thing the difference is when you talk about the first 4 minutes and the last 4 minutes, first 4 minutes are critical for the fact of the energy you're going to have and what you're going to make in time to see how your team's going to play that night. But then the last 4 minutes of a regional or a sectional game, I don't think there's any more pressure of a basketball player to be able to where you just find out the work that you put in the offseason. And when you've been during the season with everything, you find that out in the last 4 minutes of the game. The pressure that's on each kid with every pass, every shot, every free throw. Credit to both of your teams. We've had it, we could have had a little bit easier down the stretch of the fourth quarter game, but in the Pakistan kid Galena game, that was a nerve-wracking last almost 3.5 minutes. And Blake, kind of talk about that the last 3-4 minutes of that Galena game, because it was tight. It was trying to hold the basketball. And I think one of the hardest things is holding the basketball, trying not to take a bad shot with a 1 or 2 point lead.
Especially with those, you were talking about the first 4 minutes and the last 4 minutes. The first 4, you're right. It just shows like, all right, let's go. We need to get in our rhythm and show what we need to do. And especially with those last 4 minutes with them throwing the ball out of bounds and everything, I think the last 4 minutes is more on just who wants it more. I mean, in this point in the season, if you're down, you got nothing else to lose. And when we were up, we just knew that we had to fight and execute every play to the last second. Even with missing some of those free throws at the end, we knew we couldn't just we were shooting free throws with, I think it was about 13 seconds left. And I was talking to the boys at half court. I was like, we can't just, we're up. Like, this is over. We knew, hey, there's still time on the clock. We still need to finish the game and show what we can do.
And Dylan, kind of the same question to you when it comes down to focus and discipline here, and that's part of the postseason. Is there one thing that kind of sticks out to you that separates advancing from getting knocked out at this point?
I think obviously still what I said earlier, controlling the things you can control and having such vocal leadership from myself and Blake. Some of those younger guys, they may not know what's going on, or they get, like Connor and Isaiah, when when they're not playing their best, they just get really riled up. It's not like they're playing bad, but I think me and Blake holding them, telling them, it's okay, it's just a game, relax, you're fine, keep shooting the ball, exceptional players. So I think we've done that really well. Our leadership has been tremendous this year.
So, Bart, I feel that Eastland's kind of in the same boat that Pectonica is in this year, where they graduated a lot of key players. They do have, obviously, Krogman and Haverland back, which kind of solidified their post players, but they had to get new outside players. With that, experience wise, you guys definitely brought back the most experience out of all of the teams in the area. And likewise has led to a great season, like we've talked about here. What does Dakota have to do to go further this year than what they did last year?
Again, obviously we were playing Eastland here Wednesday night, and one of the keys we got to defend those two bigs. I mean, those guys and 3-4 year varsity players. So those guys are very experienced. They're probably playing better than they did last year, and they're carrying that team a little bit. And the Anderson kid stepped up for them too. I believe is that 22's name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Braden.
Yeah, and he's an experienced player for him too. He's the first guy off the bench for him last year. So they got a lot of experience with those three guys that have kind of led them throughout the year. So, but it's going to be a matchup. Can our bigs handle their bigs, and can we put enough pressure on their guards to maybe turn them over a little bit as well?
And then last question, you coach, so this is the fifth straight year a tough team will reach the sectionals. As a coach, what boxes are you going to make sure is checked to get your team ready for the sectional game?
I mean, I think we've already started it with our preparation. I laud our coaching staff and how hard we work, but ultimately it comes down to our kids. We have a dozen films on Newman. We have different kids assigned to watching different games, and we'll collectively put together a scout on Newman, and that's where leadership comes into play. These two, and even in the last question that was asked, I think at this point in the year it comes down to the leadership on the floor. The farther you go, the harder it is to hear a coach. So that communication that takes place on the floor between those five guys or guys rotating in and out is key. And that's something that we've kind of harped on, and that's been a standard of ours ever since I started here. And I think that'll be one of the boxes that'll be checked going in. Obviously, we're going to play hard. We're going to defend at a high level. And we're going to take good shots, albeit you can't always control if those shots are going in or not. But if we do those things and they enjoy the moment that they're in, I think we'll have an opportunity to be competitive in the game.
So, what are your guys' thoughts on this sectional being located in Orion? Last year, we were able to see it in Pecatonica. It made it more logistically helpful for fans and teams to come and watch all of this. Every one of the four teams has to travel at least an hour to get there. And Bobby, you're probably the furthest away, not by much compared to Dakota, but probably just a little bit further away. Is it one of those things like we talked about last year where we want to see something more centrally located, regionally located to where the teams are? Because right now, I mean, I get it. Orion was in this sectional bracketing, but man, that's a hell of a drive for a sectional, right?
No, I agree. I also, whether it be Pecatonica or anybody else who may be hosting the sectional, I would still like to see it evolve from being at a high school, like I said, to even a community college. These kids have worked extremely hard, not only during the season, but in the off season as well. And I think all of these kids deserve a venue to kind of showcase their talent. And I think, as one of these teams eventually work their way down to the Western, I think it would be kind of cool to make some stops at some other places other than just a high school gym on the way. Albeit it is what it is this year. Everybody's making a drive. Everybody's playing in the gym that's not theirs. So it's a great neutral location, I feel like.
Bart, what's your thoughts?
I'd much rather be closer to home than 2 hours away. not just for us and the players and everything, but for the fans. I mean, you got all these fans that loved one of the games, and that 2 hour whatever it is trip is not fun for them either. I think everybody would probably like it. I mean, it's probably either been at Pack Eastland or River Ridge for quite a while, so I think one of those three spots is fine.
I heard
I
the
think
gym was
I
a little
think
bit
Bart hit a
small.
important part in there with the fans and the traveling, especially in today's day and age with NFHS or Huddle Fan. I think
Right.
the kids lose out on that experience, and at the end of the day, that's what's most important. These memories that they're building and experiences that they're having.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm just looking at it from a selfish standpoint for my own ability to see the games, cover the games, etc. Obviously, with practices kicking off on Monday, tomorrow, for me to get to Orion is not going to happen, obviously. So I have to rely on NFHS to be able to pull into what we want to do coverage wise for NUIC All Access. I mean, for one aspect, it's great because I can still watch it, but it's more fun when you're there in person and able to record it and do other things with it to bring more excitement and hype around the presentation and whatnot. And, like you, Bobby, I agree. When you get in those moments in those environments and you have a bigger crowd to what, like Bart was saying, where fans are going to travel more to, it brings more excitement and allows the players to feel that as well. And I agree, it's important because it is for the kids, and playing in those moments makes the memories more enjoyable and a lot more fun.
Absolutely.
Austin, what do you have to say?
I was just gonna say I heard that the gym was not big. Do you know how big it is? Orient's
Yeah.
gym.
So, from what I've been told by a journalist down in that area outside of Alito, Ty Taylor, one of my buddies, I think the Orient gym can hold 1,300 people. As far as how big it is on the end zones, I don't know how big it is on the end zones.
I don't even know what ours holds. I'm not sure.
So I would compare it maybe just like Forston guys, or maybe just a little bit bigger than Forston, probably something like that. I believe. Um,
It's not
but
terrible.
question here, quick for both coaches. Guy, I'll start with you, Bobby. Does that 2 hour bus ride concern you at all? Are you guys going to do anything different? I mean, that's a little bit different, just getting on a bus and going to say Forston or Durand.
Yeah, we're gonna drive for about an hour, stop, get off the bus, get something to eat, and then we'll pick up that last hour. I don't want the kids sitting on a bus for 2 hours and then
Right.
expecting them to get off, go change, get warmed up, and play at a high level. Is I think that's a
Right.
realistic expectation of these young men. So we'll do the best we can to give them every opportunity to approach it like we normally would, but again, at the end of the day, I think it's more so than any travel or any game plan. It's going to come down to these guys and their ability to make shots and to defend the basketball and rebound it and all the basic stuff that players typically at this age dread that, we harp day in, day out.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I'm excited. I really am. When this regional or sectional bracket broke out, I mean, I know Jay and Joe, we talked about it quite a bit about how great it was to see these teams play out. We started to draw up what we could see the sectional looking like. And, I think we've gotten 4 of the 5 teams that we could have easily identified being here. I know that we were talking about Orion a lot earlier in the season because there was a lot of hype around them, especially after the Evans kid went for like 46 points that one night. But I'll tell you that I like the fact that we got 3 out of 4 NUIC teams in it. I don't recall cheering for Forston as hard as I did against Newman until Newman just blew the doors open because I really wanted to see all 4 teams get there. But with that, this is going to be a lot of fun, and I think I think the sectional is anybody's to take, which is what you want to see at this point in time, which to me, the regional seating has been great. Bobby, you were on last year, and so were you, Bart, where we talked about, the opportunity if we could just seed the straight sectional rather than the subsectional. But regardless, I still think that it has worked out to a great sectional bracket, so to speak. And I'm ready to go. I got to get back to Illinois here and see what we can do for our coverage. But Tuesday and Wednesday should be a lot of fun, and then roll right in that sectional championship game. I guess one of the best things is we will have a team in the sectional championship game, and hopefully we have two of them again, which would be even more fun for that road to state here.
Yeah, it should be a great sectional. I think all the games are going to be competitive, and yeah, it's just going to come down to a couple little things here, a couple bounces here or there. It's going to make the difference.
Dylan, Blake, you guys have kind of stated it where you guys were senior leaders. You kind of had to take a seat behind a couple guys playing in front of you. But I do have to say, I admire your senior leadership and what you guys have done to keep playing within the circumstances that you're in. The energy that you guys continue to bring, even starting the game on the bench and then coming in as the sixth and seventh guys off the bench. You guys bring a lot of energy to your program. And obviously, everybody wants to start, but everybody has to know their role. And you guys have, like you said, Dylan, earlier, you guys have fit into that role. You've embodied that role. But on top of that, you guys continue to bring a lot of great energy. That's what, like Bobby stated, that's what true leaders and true teammates are, and you guys definitely embody that role. And I just wanted you guys to know I greatly admire what you guys are doing, and regardless of how it turns out, you guys have led this team to heights like your guys' shirts say. It's too early, you're too young, and all those different sayings that are all checked off. You guys are exactly what that is. And without your leadership, you probably might not be where you're at right now. So take it for what it's worth from an old guy like myself, but very, very excited for what you guys have done this year in your senior years. Kaysen, Austin, obviously I've talked to you guys quite a bit throughout the course of the season as well. Best of luck this week. And, you know, even going back to my days in the hallways at Dakota, you guys continue to embody what the Dakota spirit's all about. And, I can go back to some times where you guys were in the weight room as we were getting prepared for baseball season, even though you guys didn't play for me back then. But, you know, the conversations about where you're at currently were always taking place. And now that time is here. So definitely wish you guys the best of luck chasing down those dreams that you guys talked about for many, many years.
Thank you.
So we want to take the time to thank you all for coming on the show today. It's been a lot of fun. Being able, Bart and Bobby, being able to talk to you guys again in this same setting here as we get going into sectional week. We again want to wish you guys the best of luck. We thank you guys for coming on early on a Sunday morning. Jason, Austin, Blake, Dylan, thank you as well for being able to want to be on the show. It's what it's about. We want to be able to showcase the stories, the players, the coaches around the NUIC, and continue to build this product and give you guys the exposure and the coverage that we all know that you guys deserve. Being able to tell your stories and talk about the season at hand and the future of what we got to look forward to here is always a lot of fun. And we just want to thank you guys a lot for taking that time out of your morning to be on here with us today, and wish you all the best of luck at sectionals this week.
Thanks for having us. And much appreciated
Thanks.
for everything that you guys do. Obviously, covering these guys and these different teams. And Jay, I'm not sure how you do it between being a dad, a coach, and then you're throwing this in there on top. You're kind of like Superman over there. So hats off to you.
Yep, appreciate it. I really thoroughly enjoy watching the game of basketball. It gives me something to do. I don't know what I'm going to do, but that's why I'm probably at work on a Sunday. That's how you make it work. But no, I don't think the best of both. You don't want to see anyone lose or anything like that, but it's great to see you guys, the hard work you guys put in, win your regionals, reach your goals, and best of luck in the
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, that gives us a wrap for our regional title talk. Myself, Jay, and Joe will return right after this.
When the job matters, your equipment can't fail. That's where J&R Rentals delivers. Serving Tri-States area from East Dubuque, J&R Rentals is your local source for dependable equipment. From lifts, trailers, pumps, and job site essentials built to work as hard as you do. Homeowners, contractors, big projects or small jobs, expect the same standard every time. Pickup or delivery is available. Equipment sales, service and repairs, propane refills, reliable equipment from people who know the job. Call J&R Rentals today at 815-747-7707 and get to work.
All right, welcome back to the show. Guys, we just got done doing our regional podcast. And, once again, having Pectonica and Dakota on the show, resonates to where we were just a year ago. We talked about that as well. And when you take a look at the three teams that we have in the sectional finals, or in the sectionals, I should say, the three teams are all back: Eastland, Pectonica, and Dakota. Obviously, it's unfortunate that we weren't able to get Tyler Zumdahl on the show again, but again, we wish Eastland and the Cougars the best of luck going into these sectionals as well as they get ready to face Dakota. And taking a look at just some of the stuff going around social media right now, obviously a lot of people are highly anticipating a sectional championship between Newman and Dakota. And some people are even asking the question, is Newman going to be too good for this sectional? In my personal opinion, and Joe, you were at the same game I was at when they played Byron back in the Forreston tournament, and you've seen Newman a couple more times outside of that yourself. While Newman has done a great job throughout the course of the year, they do have areas where I do feel that they are beatable. I know they've only been beaten once all year, and that was by Mendota. But, I mean, even Mendota got upset in the regional championship on Friday night. And I feel that Newman is a good team. To me, they're not Superman. I know they're the number one ranked team in state, but they're not Superman to me. They're just a very good fundamental basketball team right now.
Right. And, they are the number one team in the state for a reason. But I will say, like you said, I've had Newman on the radio 10 times or so this year. I've seen him play plenty in person. They did look like Superman on Friday night against Forreston, unfortunately, for Forreston. But Kyle, Jay, I will say they do rely on that 3-pointer a lot. When their threes aren't falling, they can struggle to score at times. But what they always do have going, they play that 1-3-1 relentless for 32 minutes. You got to be poised. You got to be patient. And Jay, you know as well as I do that advantage Dakota might have if they do see Newman in that sectional final. Dakota's got the height to throw her top of that 1-3-1. It doesn't hurt to have 6'5", 6'6" guys when you're playing against a 1-3-1 defense.
Well, I'll go earlier than later in that, and you kind of tag it the sectionals you expected and weren't expected, right? You expected Newman, kind of expected Dakota, kind of expected what Eastland, Oregon, maybe you're rooting for Eastland, and then Peck team out of nowhere, right? Well, 5 years ago where we're at today, we was asking that same question with the Pectonica team. You can be as prepared as you want, and everything like that. We can talk about it. What it will come down to when you said it, they rely on the three, they rely on what? The biggest thing in that game last year that hurt Peck, besides losing an all-stater and Hoffman, right? That's going to kill anybody. You guys not hit shots, but you want to hit shots.
Right.
And when you get down to sectional play, you're gonna have to see in a game where Newman and Peck play. Peck has to get out to a pretty good start, and they're gonna have to hit big shots early. You do that, you have one after you're 16, 18-year-old, you feel like Superman. You're gonna beat anybody, you're gonna play with anybody. You have a 16, 18-year-old that is pressured and gets tight and misses those shots. And we've seen that in the regional games with a elite team where they could not hit an outside shot. And I know multiple times that you wanted to hit one. Shooting is like normally in the regular season late shots. Playoff, I should say playoff basketball, regional sectional basketball, it's different. You're going to be traveling line. You need to make the favorite. If Peck gets off to a good start, be careful of that doing because we're playing a lot of confidence and they play like this. I don't know, I've watched them on just fall off a short like the way. They begin passing angles, they make big shots. They're not finding out Zion's two-step drop and two-hand dunk line. A lot of these are
I was going to say.
I know what that does for probably him. Like, we talked about if he could all dunk, if I could dunk, like I do it every play, but you want your teammate to do that, get punched you up, get makes you feel invincible.
Right.
And that's what Pocahontas is winning in that game against Newman. And, you know, lots of stuff if seed plays the seed and Newman, you know, but Dakota's going to have a hands full with the Eastern team. The thing that was is, been there, done that. They went through the gauntlet last year in sectionals. They beat a quote-unquote Newman who everybody pegged as a favorite in Peck. They beat that team and made it to state. Like, Cronin has seen on offense, every defense, anything that's been thrown at him. And you know, he led that team to a regional title to be in the position. So I think talk about a sectional in Oregon, but like I said, in sectional games, anything like that, I don't see a favorite in a sectional because all four teams, especially we see a picture with how it was, the best four teams that are playing not in November, but the best four teams that are playing in February and March are there. And these are the best four teams that are playing the best basketball. And that's what's cool about it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And that's what, I talked to Bobby about was just that, you take a look at Pectonica's schedule and, granted they were in the second round of the football playoffs once again. So they had a slow start to getting into the regular season. You heard Bobby say it. They didn't schedule a Thanksgiving tournament. So their first game was on December 2nd. And it was a 20-point loss to Winnebago. And then they follow that up with a 4-point loss to Rockford Lutheran. And then you felt like they were starting to get under their ways. They got the win over Orangeville. They got a good win over East Dubuque, Jay, at the game that we were at there in Eastland. And then they beat East Dubuque by, 21 points as well. Or I'm sorry, South Beloit after that. They blew them away by 34 points. But then they go into the following week of that same shootout and they get the overtime loss to Galena. Then they lose to Eastland. They lose to Normal University before coming back home. But then they go back down to Bloomington and they lose to Eastland again, right? And, in talking with Bobby, they knew that they were young. They were having some slow parts of trying to build the camaraderie around what everything was said. But you also heard Bobby just say it. When Nesto's preseason rankings came out and Eastland and Pectonica were the two teams that were in the rankings, I had made comment then. I'm like, I'm surprised Dakota's not in these rankings. And Jay, you said it. You're like, Dakota's going to be there soon enough. And likewise, they were. But I think by week 3 or week 4 of the season, Dakota was in it. And since then, I mean, they've gone from 25 to 24. Now they're up to number 8, and they're 8 in the state rankings. And they've been pretty much holding that course for a long time now. And likewise with Newman, Newman has also been rising as the year has gone on to the point where they are now number one, both AP poll, both Nesto Hoops ratings, and all the other rating systems has Newman at number one. And for the longest time, everybody was talking about Lawrenceville, 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 Lawrenceville. And I'm not taking anything away from Lawrenceville, but we've seen it. I went back and looked at the bracket last year. Newman lost to Eastland in the regional championship last year, and now they're back. Obviously, they got the Ernst kid from Morrison to transfer in. That has definitely been a huge addition to what Newman has done as a team this year. But with that, I do agree with you, Jay. I think we got 4 teams that are here, and talking about Pecatonica being the team that may have been the biggest surprise. I think that taking a look at how Pecatonica plays despite the youth, they've definitely grown as the season's gone on. They're now into a rotation where they're starting 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and a junior, which is impressive nonetheless to be sitting where they're at right now. And then on top of that, now you have Zion Brima. Like you said, Jay, it's Dunk City all over. He's finally starting to play the type of game of basketball that we need to see him be playing in order for Pecatonica to have that additional success, with the help of Isaiah Brima, his younger brother, Carter Degner, and Cooper Hamilton, and those guys.
Well, not to take anything away from Zion early in year, but I don't know, it's one of those things to where when you watched him play, he was finishing at the rim, kind of not fate. It's a dead human outsider, right? And we get short sample sizes. We don't get to see every game. But you watch him at Eastland finishing away from the rim, settling for whatever, and all of a sudden, turn on the window and then he's 2-step dropping, 2-hand dunking over people and doing things. And just completely different. In my eyes, of where he was at early in the year at the end of the year. But two separate things and two things hard to do, right? And these things to the coaching of Coach Bartout and Coach Heisler. Coach Bartout brings pretty much everyone back, especially where they're at. A lot of pressure on you as a coach to concede with that. And we did in the sectional against Eastland. And then you go to Coach Heisler, who had the disappointing loss at the end of last year, loses everybody. We talked about lose that first game by 20, the second game. Now everyone's saying, well, see, you're bad. And then for them to fight through and be where they're at now, both of the coaching things that happen for each team, you can't get enough to the coaches to put their kids in the best position. And then to the kids in itself, hold on good games, right? At the end of the day, the kids that go take the court have to either go win or lose a game and be able to do the things and make the passes, make the shots, play the defense that's put out there. And they've been able to do that here at the end of the year. And that's a tale for the 3 NYC teams that are left. When you talk about, you know they're coached well and they're put in the right position. And that goes to the fact of a Galena team who's very well coached and done it. And saw the season one and used to beat team where we went to. I haven't seen a pro team like all well coached when it comes down to those talent. They're all quality teams. But at the end of the day, the players have to make the plays down the stretch. There's the last 4 minutes. These 3 teams have been able to, of the NUIC, have been able to do the little things down the stretch with Eastern winning on a last second shot. Like you don't make the shot, we're not talking about them. But they did it and they had to rise up and make that shot. But you'll remember down the road, you'll always remember that shot, right? But really, really cool. The team, the other ones to do all that said. Looks about top, brought everybody back, looks everybody back. Cleaning their starting Miller and Stuckey, and they were expected to be here. And, they won a regional last year, so they're expected to do more. On the team, everybody said that check mark of too young, year early. Well, they're not a year early. And this is all going to feed them into next year because they bring everybody back. And now they see where they can go. And now this year it's like, okay, now we're going to be hungrier for next year. And you're going to see that. And that's how you see programs win 5 regionals in a row or winning conference, back to back or even things like that is so much the kids then buy on and you can see the extra work that these teams and these kids are going to put in and they raise the bar where everybody else has to be. And you either want to make two things if you're not there. You either make excuses of why you're not there or you try to get there. Those are the two options.
And this is something we didn't even talk about, but when you take a look at Pecatonica's path to a regional championship, they had to beat Lena Winslow in the semifinals, a team that beat them twice in the regular season. They had to beat Galena in another close game, a game that they lost in the regular season. So they had to overcome two teams, three defeats, in order to win this regional championship, which goes back to exactly what Bobby was talking about with the growth that they've had, knowing where they felt that they would be regardless of what their record was. And Jay, you always say it best, records don't mean shit until you get into the playoffs. And once you're in the playoffs, it's who's going to show up and be ready to go. And Pecatonica's been that team.
Well, your freshmen and sophomores in March aren't freshmen and sophomores anymore.
Right.
Freshmen and sophomores in November. You're not freshmen and sophomores come February, March, right? And that's why we're seeing what we're seeing, because your freshmen and sophomores have played enough now. And you can play a ton during the offseason, don't get me wrong, but in the offseason, you're trying to build, grow as a coach to find out what you're good and bad at, trying to get that idea of a rotation. But then once the lights turn on in November and December, then you find out what your team is about and who you can expect to do certain things, and you build through that. With all three of these teams in Eastland, in Decatur, and Pecatonica, they've all gotten better. They've been climbing since November. And, a very talented teams when you talk about the amount of talent and players we have in the sectional game.
Right, I agree. Joe, give us a little bit more on what you've seen on Newman, just for the listeners that are going to listen in. Yeah, let's hear a little bit about Newman. Like I said, you've seen Newman more than any one of us have, and I just want your insights on what Newman looks like as we head into these sectionals.
Yeah, so I broadcast Newman games for WLT Radio. I'll have them against Pecatonica here on Tuesday night at the Orion Sectional. But, as you said, they brought 4 starters back from last year's team that lost to Eastland in that regional final. And then the one starter you don't bring back, you replace with Asher Ernst from Morrison. So you bring in a 6'4" all-conference kid, which never hurts. Guys, you guys know as well as anybody, you get to this point of the postseason, you got to have a great point guard. Newman's got that in Garrett Motznick. Kyle, as you know, he's a great point guard, but he's one hell of a baseball player. I mean, that kid is.
Yeah, I know all about Garrett and baseball.
But how much this kid has improved from his sophomore year in the basketball court till now, and he can do a little bit of everything. That game against Forston the other night, he had 10 assists to go with his 11 points. So anytime you can do that in a high school game, have 10 assists as a point guard, that's pretty good. It tells you that Garrett's always making the right decision, and that his teammates are making shots. Newman's got 2 sharpshooting wings, and Evan Bushman and George Youngman. These guys can light it up. And then you got your 2 bigs, Asher Ernst, 6'4", and John Rousey at 6'4", junior center. One thing Newman will get you guys, a make or miss, they're always looking to push. I've seen them get so many runouts on made baskets, like you can't even explain it. Like, if you don't get back against this team, they'll have a layup at the other end in 3 seconds. Like, you have to get back defensively. They're getting it in. They're running the fast break, make or miss. And then, of course, like I said, they play that 1-3-1 defense, staple of, obviously, Coach Ray Sharp, and they just play relentless for 32 minutes. When you got, size like Rousey at the top at 6'4", that 1-3-1, and Ernst on one of the wings, I mean, it makes it tough. Those passing lanes just aren't there. I do worry, I know Peck's a young team. Their guards are freshmen and sophomores. I do worry a little bit about their being so young going against an experienced Newman team. But on the other hand, Pecatonica has played a very, very tough schedule to get them ready for this Newman team.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And, you talk about, needing to get back fast on Newman because of the pace of play that they play at. And I think that's where Pectonica has a good matchup there because Pectonica likes to push the tempo.
Right.
I mean, yes, it's new core
Yeah.
players outside of Zion, but the establishment and the standard, like Bobby talked about, it's still there. The pace of play for them is still the same. They want to
Right.
push the floor and keep pushing the floor until they wear you down. And I do see the length of Newman being the biggest issue. I think out of the 4 teams there, Dakota is definitely the team that matches up the best to what Newman has size-wise, but you know, the mixture of being able to play down low and play outside, I think Pectonic can do it, Dakota can do it, Eastland can do it all the same, which is why I really do feel this sectional is wide open. And going back to what you said, Jay, we definitely have, regardless of what anybody wants to talk about, we got a 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed. We got the 4 best teams here. And
Yeah.
anybody can say what they want about Pectonica being here over Galena, but Pectonica had to earn that to get here, and rightfully so did that.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can make every reason why who should be where, who's better than what. If every year the HOC changes their seems like line of where they change games, but what we talk about all the time is you want this more than you want a they close down a regional and make it a quadrant, and you put a Peck, Eastland, where you put all these teams in one quadrant, and only 2 of those teams come out rather than they're kind of more spread out. And they do want you to watch them travel. I mean, they're
Right.
never going to win an argument where the people that have their view are going to change their mind. Myself, I'm not going to change my mind because I want, as a coach, I won't care if I travel an hour to Marion, but as long as if I'm one of the top seeds, I'm not because I am neighbors with somebody who's another top team. I want to play them because we're neighbors and it doesn't make any sense other than that, right? But don't want to be doing in the South and we're talking Sterling New England. I will say this, I'll make it very easy in basketball terms. And this is just how I see it. I'm wrong sometimes. Not around there, not else. But I will say this. There's one I believes that which I feel he is the best player in the sectional. Plays how he loves them. I've seen him in games where he just plays, I would call it angry. Going to the rim hard, throwing the ball by when there's an opportunity to dunk on somebody, grabbing the rebounds and pushing the ball. His teammates will feed off of him. If I'm on the movement, I probably see that too, right? But he has to leave. Whether or not, and when you talk to kids, right? Like, he has to believe that he's the best player on that court. I think he probably could be, or is. Well, he believes
He is.
when he is playing like he has the last 2 games like watching regionals, he is, right? He has to stay out of foul trouble because they had Dakota in the crosshairs at Dakota and he got in foul trouble. He didn't play the those teams. They got on and he has to go in and play like he was the best player in that sectional. And that no one can play at his level and no one can play with him. If he does not, they have a shot. If he does not have a monster doing, they don't. And I'm not saying that he has to go out and shoot all the time, but what she does is creates double teams. She creates kickoffs for lineup and turns, creating easier shots for young guys to get in the rhythm. He wants to take the pressure off of his team and not do it. And yes, you win with your starting five when your bench and you can put them in a position. No, in games like this, trust me, seen it, know it. In games like this, in regional finals and sectionals, your best player has to play like the best player. If your best player does not play like the best player, you can have the best scheme, you can have the best crowd, you can have the best following. If your best player never plays the best player, and their best player plays better than your best player, you're going to let him.
Yeah.
I would agree with all that.
What's that?
I said I would agree with what you're saying there about Zion having to be the best player. I will say I think that that Newman Peck game is going to be very up and down the court. That'd be very fast paced. I think that Eastland Dakota game is maybe a little bit slower pace, but I really think guys for Pecatonica, that first quarter, that first 4 minutes of that game is going to be huge because I've seen Newman just that 1-3-1 will take you out of what you want to do right away and make you do things you're not used to doing. And so if Pack can survive that first 4 or 5 minutes, I think they're going to give themselves a good chance. But if it gets out of hand early, Newman's just too hard of a team to come back on. They're just too well coached and too senior laden. You're probably not coming back on them.
Well,
so I think that first 4 minutes, 5 minutes, that game is huge for a young Pecatonica team here on Tuesday night against Newman.
Well, I'm looking for a 1-3-1. Being caught in the corners. What helps you in the 1-3-1 is running a great middle.
Right.
The handles the middle. And like I said, it's going to come down to what type of game he's going to be able to play. Unless he's going to get the ball and create the double team and kick and pop, and they have to hit some threes early. Using threes landing with young guys on a young group, like I said, they're going to everything. We get down early and they may show they could show their age. Well, yeah, in that Dakota, it's going to be two different, right? Two different games. That is like
yeah, for sure.
Smoothing on one end and cracking on the other end, controlling the ball, leading them into what they want to do. And it's going to come down to Mayer down low or Hattowin down low, right? You have a great 2-on-2 matchup each side. Before he was able to do it against Pearl City and the Mound, it was just too much, too big. Right? He's too big.
Right.
And especially in the post, like that game I thought was going to be tight and where Paul City had a bad injury with one of their bigs, which kind of might have changed it. But that was a high level, high intensity game. And at the end of the day, they were down low was too much. Suki down low was too much. They know how to get fouls. They know how to get to the free throw line. It's a wonderful thing. And that's going to be like, you're going to watch one game that's going to be like kind of crazy and sometimes
frenetic pace.
Yes. And then the other game is going to be all control, all half court, lead and shot that they want. And at the end of the day, it comes down to not the ones and twos. In that game, Mayer and Stuckey are going to step up, and Crumman and Hattowin are going to play.
Yep.
I'll see it come down to the fourth and fifth starter and maybe one off the bench. If somebody comes and has a crazy game, that's going to be the difference of the game. Right? It's going to be, and then the brain space of the point guard for Dakota.
Liam
Burke.
Liam Burke.
Yes. He starts hitting outside shots. Game changer, right? And he was a shooter. Now in a game like that, and that's when you can count on the seniors, like a Mayer and a Stuckey, or Krogman, or Hattowin. They're going to show up. They've been there. They're going to show up. But what are the fourth and fifth starters going to do in a game like that? What's the bench team going to do? That's the question.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, Dakota's changed their lineup a little bit to where Lawler's now a starter as well as Drake Davis. So now you got another tall guy down low with Kaysen to allow Stuckey, who's 6'3" himself, to play point with Liam handling the ball. And then you got Lawler there. So you got three really good ball handlers and then two guys that can get down low. And they've been playing a lot of motion offense where they're just getting the back picks, the side cuts, the pick and rolls going that open up a lot of stuff. But like you said, Jay, you get Liam open on the edge of the perimeter and he starts nailing those shots. That's a whole nother dynamic to the game that you can't help. And then you got Larson coming off the bench. You got Dalen Long coming off the bench. And they hit some huge shots the other night in that regional championship game where deep three shots. I mean, I think he had 9 points in like 5 minutes.
Well, and that was the reason you're not doing right like that. With that close game in the fourth quarter, a 20-point run. And the thing that Dakota's not going to get against Eastland is second shots, blood shots,
right,
because of them just being bigger and stronger. right? That's why it's going to come down to a Burke hitting threes or a Long hitting threes. Now, going to the Park Wolves, they've gotten those wins against the Gorillas and Marinas because those teams didn't hit the big shot. I mean, how many times we were texting back and forth, Kyle? I'm
Yeah.
like we were shooting, you were shooting the turns and not even close, right? Because
Right.
you're not position one, both those threes, you're on ball game, right? Marina hits some of them shots. You're on ball game. It comes down to big time shooting in those games. And it still came down to in the Dakota Eastern game. Both Berg, Long, and Larson play well. Dakota can go away. If both sides don't play well, Mayer and Stuckey will be crossed out by Krogman and Haberman. It's going to come down to your fourth and fifth starters. Because once two guys on each team, they're going to show the whole year. They're going to show.
Yeah. No, I think the two games that we have for these sectional semifinals, you couldn't have paired it better. I think the matchups themselves are ripe for the taking. That are going to bring great entertainment Tuesday and Wednesday night for sure.
Now, a 6 or 8 point lead in like Eastland, the Connie Jordan is going to feel like a 20, a 15 to 20 point lead.
Yeah.
And in the Peck game, I don't maybe more, I would say close in my game, and I think that it's in the game where Peck could come out and do anything. But the issue like still minimal fight is if Peck keeps fighting, and maybe they're towards the end of the third, fourth quarter. There's no pressure. There's no pressure on those guys. But the thing that the Peck players need to know, you got to take the opportunity now because you never know if you're going to get, just how things play out.
Right.
Sophomore team, or you really don't have any starting to see. You got to win now. You have the opportunity because you don't know
there's
how
never a guarantee for next year.
Well, because look at how it plays out. You see our winning team unload with a transfer. Who knows?
You just don't know.
You could have sold houses to a different town, and you have a different team that somebody goes somewhere, or a freshman comes in from somewhere, or some freshman that's a sophomore and now becomes a player, right? We see that with Zion, his freshman to sophomore year. We were talking about him last year of him taking that team to the next level because of it. It's like that stuff happens every year. And you gotta focus on the now and not think that you have a shot next year because sometimes that never comes.
Totally agree. I just feel that, like going back to that though, Jay, Newman, I feel has more pressure on them than what Pecatonica has.
We got the most pressure of any team out there because they are the number one ranked team. They are the team that everybody is reaching out for. But how many times do you see in high school sports, we're not talking, college or NBA, but in high school, I mean, it's a one scene for high school basketball. So that means very little in the grand scheme of things. I mean, all these teams have players who are just as good as teams on that. It just means that they lost less games than the other teams, right? Like,
yeah.
You look at their schedule and you look at the other three teams in the regional schedule. Eastern plays a tough schedule. Peck plays a tough schedule. Dakota has played a tough schedule. Newman, of course, played a tough schedule, but they're all seeing, and sometimes you win a lead, and sometimes losing is good.
Yeah, I was taking a look at Eastland's schedule, and one could say they've definitely had the toughest schedule because out of it, they've played 12 teams that were in the regional championship games on Friday. And I believe it was 7 or 8 of them won the regional championship. And 2 of them that Eastland beat were 2A regional champions. And, because I believe they beat Oregon. I know they beat Johnsburg. And I'm not saying that those teams were great per se. I mean, I saw Johnsburg last year, and Johnsburg was not a regional champion this year. They're back at the Martin Luther King tournament this year at Pecatonica again, which is where Eastland played them, and Eastland won that game. And I I guess I didn't realize as much then because I just wasn't expecting a lot out of Johnsburg, but Coach Tucson at Johnsburg's been able to get the Skyhawks playing at a higher level, and they got to a regional championship this year. So, to me, that's just another big win for Eastland in their back pocket. And like you said earlier, Jay, they got it may be a different look of a team, but they have the experience. They were at the state finals last year. And you got two of the big guys that were a part of that team back that can definitely help carry these guys to reach higher levels. And then, on top of that, they're starting to get more of that big time guard play that they were missing last year. And Braden Anderson's really been one of those guys to step up for Eastland here as the playoffs have started to kick off. So, who's your guys' picks? I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's your picks for the sectional championship? Joe?
I'll try him next week.
And
You'll tell me next week.
I really think it'll be Newman and I think it's going to be Newman and Dakota in the championship. That's as far as I've gotten so far. We'll see. I mean, two very senior-led teams that got a little bit of everything. They play good defense. I'm probably going to pick Newman. If you're making me pick right now, I'll say Newman over Dakota in the championship.
He needs to keep that paycheck coming as long as he can.
Yeah, I'll be following Newman on the radio as far as they go, but no, that doesn't have anything to do with my prediction.
Joe wants to go down state.
Joe wants to go down state.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
we'll go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. I get to this point, and I really don't have a preference other than I would like to see one of the three NUIC teams, right? Like, Newman doesn't do anything for me. I think they just need to win a sectional game. So if they beat Peck, I guess that's a good thing for everybody next year. For the next 3 years, possibly.
They get hit with the multiplier then.
However, if they're still big enough, that's the only thing I could say would be a good thing. But I just want to watch good basketball. And I want to watch things happen that you see happening and watch kids who have worked hard, put in position to make plays and do that. And that's what I have no dog in the fight. Unfortunately, Peking, I'd have to see them upset a Sterling Newman team. I want to see Zion play well because I think the confidence that he would get from that would not only go into this year, would go into next year, his senior year. And the guns of Peck with that pressure. I don't want to see the work that they put in come to a bad loss in a sectional game. Because I think that can. I just don't want to see that in a sectional game. In the Eastland and Dakota game, I don't know. You tell me you go against Eastland team who's been there, won that, and a Krugman and a Haverland who just don't seem to lose the big game. It's going to be a big effort from the Dakota team to map them off because at the end of the day, they are the regional, sectional, super sectional champs. And they have one goal in mind, and that's been from last year to this year to probably return, right? Because those seniors are fighting the same things. They lost a great group of seniors from last year. And now it's like they want to make a name for themselves. So I don't really have a dog in the fight. What's my pick?
I'm going to go with the young guys from Pecatonica. I think that, like you stated, Jay, they have been able to give Dakota a game. So they've seen some top-notch talent already. I think that their game goes well with Newman's. The only thing I am concerned about is the size differential. But like we've already talked about, if Zion can play big down low, that's going to be a huge advantage for Pecatonica. Likewise, if Cooper Hamilton and Carter Degner can help facilitate the offense like we've seen them really start to pick up and do even more so as the season's gotten late in the tooth, I think that Pecatonica can definitely be there. And it goes back to what you said too, Jay. you can't wait for next year because you don't know if next year will play out. You got to do it now. And with nothing to lose, I think that makes Pecatonica dangerous. And I'll be honest, I just want to see my boys from Peck get another W and get into that sectional championship game. I'm not going to lie. On the other side, I do see Dakota as the favorite. I know that they're going to want some revenge from that 55-39 loss last year to Eastland. I think they have a more complete team. Coach Bart didn't want to necessarily answer the question I had asked, which I can understand. I mean, he did, and he did try to stay PC with it, but this year's team and how he's been managing it has been a lot better than what happened last year with last year's team. Yes, Dookie got hurt a little bit, got a little banged up, but I think the key players that he has coming off the bench
One thing
are
also last year,
what's that?
when we got a guard,
Yeah, Liam was out last year. So they had Brody Keeney running the point, which Brody was the sixth guy off the bench throwing into the starter role because Liam had hurt himself against Forston, so he was out the rest of the season. So that too has been huge. But Dalen Long being able to come in, Lawler moving into that starting spot, and Larson coming in off the bench too. I felt like those two last year as sophomores could have been bigger help for Dakota than what they were utilized in, but it was definitely a picture of what we could see this year being, which has come to fruition here. I just think the overall balance between the team, the way the starters are playing, and the depth on the bench, I don't think that there's a deeper team in our area right now than what Dakota has.
yeah, I agree. Like I said, it's going to come down to Burke, Long, and a Larson or another, the fourth starter, right?
Lawler.
If they play well, I think Dakota wins. If they do not, Eastern will win. Just because I think, like I said, if they don't hit big shots, Crumlin and Haverly will not let Dakota do what Sticky and Mayer's been able to do all year. And that just be bigger and better and stronger than pretty much every team they fought or faced, Eastern hides that X factor. So it's going to come down to outside shots by Dakota. If they hit those shots, they'll do it right one. If not, look for Eastern win.
Well, and that's one of the big things, Haviland's hard to move down low, right? So
Yeah.
if you're Dakota, you're gonna have to be physical down low. And then Parker can move down low. He can play the inside game, but he can play the outside game all the same,
Yeah, we're talking to Duncan, and I just flipped over to the Orion Eastern game, and it's end of the third quarter, and Parker gets it up the top of the key, shot face goes right, and I don't know
throws
if
one down.
one once right at the buzzer of the third quarter. It's like that's what we are facing against an Eastern team. They might just bring the energy for 4 quarters. So that is probably one intriguing matchup for me. Is that just because it's going to be such a half court because watching my possession game, that foul trouble will come into the fact that it's going to be the role players that are going to decide it.
Yep. Nope, I agree. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think, like I've said all along. So anyway, taking a look at the girl side of stuff, we saw Eastland bow out to Weathersfield in a very great game, 41-38. Obviously, there's been a lot of controversy with the refereeing crew in that game. And, watching that game, there were some egregious calls that I thought. I'm not going to sit here and bash referees, though, but I've had a couple other referees already reach out to me who had other friends that are referees sitting in the stands for that game. And a lot of them have stated that the refs in that game were not up to par of what a sectional crew should be.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you post the rank, you become an official. So those that, feel they play a factor in the win or loss, you very fond as a coach, coming from the coach, when you want to complain about officiating, you're a ref, right?
Yep.
Number two, whenever they get officiating like that, it's a two-way street. The calls that East and Buffalo got are the same calls that Anaheim feels them to get, right? Like, I remember, and then maybe one a blind. It's like I was, it was my way in football when you get to games and you feel like you're being shafted by officials, right? You're the full on and you're like, no, we're getting shafted by officials, and then you become a coach and then you see it. It's just like it's not that way, right? Take anything out of the side of when your kids on the court or your grandson or whatever emotional effect goes into that game. At the end of the day, it's human beings making calls at a crazy pace that is very, very difficult to do. And I will say this more than any time in watching basketball, girls, boys, whatever. And we talked about the flopping rule. Nothing more than ever, and when I watched it in Newman Weathersfield, right? And there was no dog in the fight. I was just watching it to watch it because you lose to a team or you suck as a coach, so you still watch games and feel like bad for yourself. So I'm still watching that game. Never is it tougher to watch when everyone also, I don't know if it's taught or who it's taught, everyone flails and flops on every shot, on all contact, on all of those things. And let's take everybody out of it, and it was Weathersfield and Newman. We're flailing and flopping, but it's how do you call that game, right? What's a true fall and what's a foul fall? And if you were to call every foul or every fall, the game's still going on to go and we won't have enough players, right? So it's also tough to appreciate boys and or girls games when those kids are just flailing and flopping to draw fouls, right? So you want all of that in your fight, and then it turns into how it turned into with the Eastern game. But at the end of the day, it's like make some shots, don't turn the ball over. You probably will not game. It doesn't come down to the officiating.
Guys, I was at that game. I had that game on the radio. I was up in the press box there at Eastland, so I had one of the best views of the night, obviously. But there was maybe a few calls here and there that I thought were, questionable at best. But the other thing I'll say about that, Jay, when as a coach or as a player, we kind of were talking about on the radio, like you could kind of see Eastland getting in foul trouble there in that third quarter. You could kind of sense it, right? But you have to adjust to the way the game's being called. And when Trixie and Tatum have 4 fouls in that fourth quarter and they're on the floor, like, you have to play, you have to be careful. Like you can't have that silly reach with 6 minutes to go in the game. You got to adjust as a player to that way that game's being called. But I will say when Trixie fouled out and Tatum fouled out, you could just kind of sense that Weathersfield was probably going to end up winning that game. But that is kind of my 2 cents. I don't know.
And it's never good when that many fouls are called, don't get me wrong, but to me, it's just one of those things to where what we talked about earlier, control what you can control, right? And maybe that's foul, and I'm glad multiple players, my own honor included, right? Gets that 4th foul, and it's a bad foul, right? And you feel that wasn't a foul, right? And she'll come over like, that wasn't a foul. I'm like, well, I agree with you. If that 1st or 2nd foul, when you miss the shot and then reach over the back and slap.
70 feet from the basket, you pick up that dumb one in the first quarter.
I think there's going to be a call to you that just, I always tell them, like, when you go to block a shot and you come down with a volleyball spike, the official is already ready to call a foul. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to call a foul whether you get a ball or any of the hand, right? Because they see the action of it. Those fouls are going to happen, so you shouldn't go straight up. And when you hack like that and they call a foul, you're going to say, that was a ball. It's like, I won't call a foul on you. We talked about it at practice, it's a foul on you, right?
Right.
What foul before that didn't just come to the front of her foot could change the outcome that maybe they would like to have back. And there's really one or two of them when you get 4 or 5. One won't really foul 4 or 5 times. You get one really like silly foul. I looked at Lamley and a lot of the games towards the end of the year. She got in foul trouble. I could speak for my young kid. I don't like to talk about other kids and whatever, but my own kid. She had a bad foul in the second quarter, and I looked at her and said, "That's going to hit you in the third or fourth when you make that bad foul." And she missed a layup and then reached in and got another foul. And it's like, they should sit on the bench before. I'm like, one foul, there's 2 fouls will put you on a bench in a close game that will lose a game. And what people will get, they just see that reaction of the one. It's like, officiating is officiating, and adapt to it, and know how you want to play with it. And never should we use officials as a scapegoat for why we lose the game, which is, like I said, it comes down to shooting and turnovers in the fourth quarter. And in our game, where we lost the last game this year, we turned the ball over and we fouled too much. It had nothing to do with anything other than that. We didn't handle the pressure good enough. And we put them on fouling and stopping of the clock. And when you have a lead, that's what will get a team in. And that's the same thing that happened in that Eastern Weathersfield game where they got some fouls, they got in bonus, girls got in foul trouble, and then came back in a one. Right? It's over.
Right.
You learn from it. And I just feel it when officials get the blame when it's like, we put the thing out. How many people are going to look at that application that Kyle put out there and actually do something about it?
Yeah, I know. I put it out there because of all the talk, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
100% know why it was put out there. You know why it was put out there. Because it's like, if you always sit up there and scream and yell at these officials from the top row, get your ass out there and do it yourself. And feel how it feels to be in that game and having people scream and yell at you. Like, do you really think they're doing that on purpose when you had an off night or you had a whatever? Like, I can say that I probably in the last 4 or 5 years have said probably 4 or 5 things to officials in those games, in games, and it was probably me talking to you like this. Well, I try, right? Maybe sometimes you use it and get a little chirpy, but I really...
Jay, I think you said 4 things against Rockford Lutheran last year alone.
That's my 4. I tried my best, so I'd swallow as much as I can. Again, in that game too, article had written about the officiating and how it was officiated.
Right.
After the game, I was asked about if that played a factor in.
And you said no.
What cost us the game wasn't the officiating. What cost us the game was, in the first half, we did not play well enough, and we missed too many lowups.
Right.
And then when we got the lead in the fourth quarter, we fouled and put them in the free throw line. Well, that's what cost us the game. But yeah, as a culture, we'll go back to that. That'll be PSB for me or that Eastern game of 2 years ago. So still have one in my mind I'll probably never forget.
I'm sorry, I just had to bring it up because, if roles were reversed, you'd have done it to me too. Regardless, I agree with you. And I remember that game vividly. I know that you were upset in that game with some of the calls that were going in favor of Rockford Lutheran, not in favor of you. And it did seem like, and I will attest this because I was there, that Rockford Lutheran was getting the benefit of the doubt and their bigs were able to do more pushing and shoving than what you were getting allowed to do. So it did seem to have a little bit of a disadvantage, especially for your team being a smaller team, right?
Well,
but at the end of the day, Jay, I will agree. You never said anything bad about any official in any of your post-game talks, newspaper articles, etc. You focused it right back where it should be. And, I've seen your interaction with the officials, and that was where I was really going at with this, not to make fun of you, but the fact that I know that you're just like me. You have a lot of friends that are officials, that are referees in the sports across all three sports. And with that, I know ultimately deep down, good call, bad call, you still respect them to the point where, like you said, you are going to have those hard conversations in the heat of the moment type of game, but you're not going to yell at them and disrespect them.
No, and the one that I remember the most, and the one that like probably because we were behind our bench, the only people that knew that I was on the official was the people in that corner. It wasn't like it was a spectacle, but like literally, I was complaining of over the back and pushing, and the little shoved our girl. It was carrying my over. He shoved it to the ground, Joe. Shoved it to the ground. You watched it in front. She fought to the girl's knees. The girl grabbed it and put it up. And because she's out of knees, they call it in one foul. And I'm like, that one's one up that like you really struggle with, and you can't keep up tight there. But like I said, I think every official, I think those guys even after the game because I might want to be in that position, those tough position. But like I said, the application is out there. There's many fans that could probably do a great job. And the whole lot. I've looked into it.
Yeah, I have too, actually, because, I've been asked to be a football official. I know, Jay, me and you have talked about becoming football officials ourselves. It just hasn't always worked out
Well, when
collectively.
you're coaching football, you really can't be a football official. When you're coaching basketball, you really can't be a basketball official. But there'll be a time.
Yeah.
I am one that I may say individual souls, and I may do that. But at least I will back what I say. And when I'm done coaching, I plan on being an official, and I will vow that I'm not going to be a good one. Because the only time I've ever officiated was like junior high only A, and I was awful, and I was not good. And that's what I always said. Like I wouldn't want to be an official because I can't even officiate any fifth and sixth grade basketball game. Let alone what I would do in high school. But I will definitely need something to fight by my tongue, and that's like the next chapter down the road is what I want to do is be a basketball official because I need something to do. I vow when someone says that's a bad call, I'll probably look and say, no, probably right, I'm not very good. And
Well, we'll get that referee crew put together here probably in the next year or two. Who knows?
We're running up and down the corner without like flirting anything.
Yeah, I think as long as it's football and we want to put a crew together, I'm game.
Yes.
Because I can still do what I need to do for NUIC football and officiate, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Galena lost to Newman 42-32 on the other side. So unfortunately, all of our girls were done in the sectional semifinals. And Weathersfield went on to upset Newman 60-55 to win that sectional championship. So Weathersfield will be playing tomorrow in their super sectionals. Obviously, boys kicking off sectionals this week. Lena Winslow Stockton lost in the team duels in the state quarterfinals Thursday night to GCMS 39-35. So for wrestling, Lena Winslow Stockton done. They will not be able to place in state. So an unfortunate end to a promising season for the Panther Hawks. But here we are. We're a week out now from softball games officially starting because they're already going into week 2 of practices this week. And our next guest is going to be Jeff Kinney of the Dakota Indians and their state-ranked softball team as they come back as the area favorite after a 4th-place finish a season ago. And before you know, we're going to be kicking off baseball season. Baseball practice starts this week, tomorrow, day 1. I'm excited. I can't wait to get going once again. But
pitchers report, right?
What's that?
I said pitchers and catchers report tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's been a lot of schools working on OTAs prior to today, us being one of them, but definitely excited to get a lot of the kids together under one roof and start working on what we need to do to get things going. And, you know, I know softball's already got a week under their belt, so they got one more week of practice before the games start opening up for them. And, we're rolling right through here. So we got basketball going up. We have a good opportunity to see one of our teams get to super sectionals and or make a state run once again. So that should be a lot of fun. But some big games this week. We got 3 teams remaining, so that will once these 3 teams are done, boys, that ends our winter season already. It's hard to believe how fast it's gone by.
Yeah, flew by, right, 12?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Well, before we'll be talking about on the black side, definitely who, if anybody, can match the Dakota Indians in softball. And we see pitching wings in softball, East Dubuque, teams like that have you know top of the line pitching. And then in baseball, there's many teams that are gonna be able to. Pitching won't matter in baseball more so I would say than softball because of the pitch count we always talk about. That's going to be the biggest thing of some pitchers and how many relapse do we get? That should be a big thing for scheduling wise. To get things and you're not pitching the eighth kill on your team to keep the pitch counts down.
Yeah, that's one of the things that definitely is going to be huge. Another thing that really helps out too is that a lot of things are going to open way up this year for our area teams simply because the back-to-back state champions, Ottawa Marquette, were on the multiplier, but the multiplier didn't keep them from staying in 1A. But because they won back-to-back state titles,
Sure.
now they're getting the success factor, so yeah, they're getting bumped up to 2A. So that opens up our super sectional even more so. Of which we've had a team the last 2 years. Fulton last year was in the supers, and the year before it was East Dubuque. So we definitely have had teams sitting there knocking on the door because the year before that was my Dakota team when we lost in the sectional championship team. So we've been there knocking on the door as a conference. And I think this year is one of those years where we can definitely see somebody break through. And there's definitely a lot of depth there on the baseball side. And then softball, like you said, Jay, Dakota's definitely going to be the team to watch. They're opening up the season ranked number 4 in state, East Dubuque. So our boy Joe Edler and his Warriors are also getting some preseason recognition, along with Kieran Oberman, the pitcher for East Dubuque as well. Like you said, we got some strong teams, strong pitching. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch the spring sports take off here for sure. So that gives you a look at what we've had the past week. We've taken the second segment to a whole hour and 5 minutes already. A lot of conversation here today, but a lot of big games this week. Get out to the games if you can. I know Orion's a long trip, but if you can at least tune in on NFHS, all games will be streamed there this week. Please do so. We got some great basketball to close out the season here. One team's going to move on. Hopefully, it's an NUIC team. We have 3 of the 4 in the sectional semifinals. So, at the end of the day, it's been one hell of a year in these winter sports, and we hope that we can finish off strong. But watch the games for your teams. As always, root for the NUIC. We'll see you next week.